Hello friends, welcome to Gardening with Creekside. I am Jenny and today I have a fun little project that I am going to complete. Behind me you will see the infamous refrigerator here at Creekside Nursery. If you will remember, let's see if I can get a shot. A friend of mine gave me this refrigerator probably about this time last year, maybe a little bit earlier. Her husband was going to restore it. It was in their basement. They decided not to do it. They were either going to toss it. Lacey thought of me. I said, oh yes, I will find something to do with it. So we have the refrigerator. We completely gutted it. We turned it on its side and I turned it into a planter. Now, the reason that it is so famous here at Creekside Nursery is because it houses the massive drinking gourd hosta. This thing is an absolute beautiful beast. She's huge, she's large, she takes up the whole container. What I'm going to do today is there's actually other perennials in the refrigerator with drinking gourd. She's just gotten too big, so she's going to be the only plant in the refrigerator. I'm going to take everybody else out and I'm going to plant them in the landscape nearby. So let me show you exactly what I'm talking about here. Here we have the refrigerator, right? And you can see I have little plant tags in there that name what everything is. Here in the center is the drinking gourd hosta, and you can tell that she is already starting to emerge from her winter's slumber. Now, to the left of that, I have a Pictum Japanese painted fern that is starting to wake up. Then in the back, there is Lady in Red. This is a lady fern, gorgeous, one of my absolute favorite ferns. Then back here in this corner, you really can't see her, there is Burgundy Red Astilbe. And then I have right here in the corner, wee hosta that is just starting to emerge, has a little bit of growth in there. All of these are going to come out and I am going to put them in the landscape surrounding the refrigerator. So I don't know exact placement, but if you'll remember, back here in the back is the 3 Edgeworthia. In the ground right here, I have 4 of what I call Aunt Vonnie's ferns because they came from my Aunt Vonnie. We don't know a name. So they're gonna go somewhere between the Edgeworthia in front of the Florida Sunshines, around that Linton Rose, and then kind of down, no really further past that pine tree. I also have one of Proven Winner's fantastic hostas. This is Shadowland Woo La La, and I put her in here 2 or 3 years ago. She's ready to come out. So we're going to take her out and put her in the landscape as well. But first things first, we have got to get those perennials out of there, and then once I get them out, then I'll kind of figure out and play around exactly their placement, where they're going to go in the landscape. These of course are perennials. That means they come back year after year. They are ferns and hostas and astilbes, so they do like the shade. This will get filtered sun, but it does not get any direct sun, certainly not any afternoon hot direct sun. So if you've got those ferns and hostas, astilbes, those shade perennials, they need to have either dappled sunlight, really what we call, maybe a little bit of morning sun and that's it, but absolutely no afternoon sun because they will just fry. So that's why this is a perfect place for them to go. So yeah, let me get these sweet little things out of this refrigerator. All right, we are all ready and set to go. This is going to be interesting. I don't know how much the roots are intertwined with one another, but we are going to find out. My tool of choice for today is going to be my Hori because this is going to be, I think, the best bet for getting these babies out. So drinking gourd is right here. We're going to start with the painted fern here, and we're just going to kind of saw around. That's why we like the Hori so much, is because it has that serrated edge right here. We can get in and kind of saw her out. This is just going to be a process. So all I'm doing is just going around the plant and sawing, so that way if there's, which there are, there's roots around everybody. So I'm cutting the roots apart from each other, and it's okay. I know, I'm sure you are going to be doing a little bit of root pruning here, but that's all right. And then here we go. All right. Painted fern. There we go. All right. So painted fern is out. Looks like we got all the good root system. I still see some eyes right here from the fern, so that's excellent. You can see she's starting to wake up. We did have that 19-degree night just a couple of days ago, so a little bit of it got fried, but that's all right. She'll regrow. But put her off to the side, and then I'm just going to go around and do the exact same thing to all the other perennials and get them out, and then we'll go from there. All right, so I got all the perennials out. I had forgotten that the lady in red fern, it was a transplant even from here, from my shade garden beside the house. If you will remember that video where I took them out, man, I fought with that thing. So it had some native red clay soil, in its root system, and it is a huge fern. So that's why I had to wrestle so much with it to get it out, but I was able to do it. Remember how I tell you to save your tags? Well, here you go. Perfect example of my tags, so I know exactly what everybody is. I've got my burgundy red astilbe, my drinking gourd, my pictum Japanese fern, and my shadowland wee. So there you go, save your tags, so even years from now you will remember what they are. So we'll put those off to the side. Now, what am I going to do to this refrigerator, because I lost plants and space and soil? So what I'm going to do is a little bit of threefold. I'm going to add a little bit of potting soil and land and sea, kind of mix those together to fill in the holes. That way drinking gourd she literally has this entire refrigerator. It is like prime growing conditions for her. When we did lay the refrigerator down, my daddy was helping me, and so he did drill some drainage holes in here, so it does drain. But because it has all this soil in here, I filled the whole thing up with potting soil. I did not put stuff underneath it. That way it will retain more moisture, it will retain the food, the roots can grow the entire capacity of this refrigerator if it wants to, and it will get huge. You wonder why this drinking gourd was as tall as the refrigerator? It's because it had great growing conditions. So if you want beautiful, awesome looking plants, then don't shortchange yourself with your potting soil and the food. So we're going to put some potting soil in here, land and sea, and then because it is this time of year, I'm going to give her a nice healthy dose of plant tone, which is that great all-purpose fertilizer. So we'll get that done, and then I'll top dress with some mulch to make it look nice and neat and pretty, and to help retain the moisture. So I'm giving everybody, cleaning up the refrigerator, getting it nice and clean, getting all my soil off and giving it a nice drink of water. I do know how much y'all enjoy seeing me water and make sure I need to water this in. I actually don't really need to water this in because one, we just had a bunch of rain this past weekend, so the soil was nice and damp. Then we're going to get like 3 days of rain starting tomorrow. But I know how much y'all enjoy watching me water, and when I don't, y'all are sure to remind me that I didn't water something in. So there you go, those are nice and watered in. Next step is to try to figure out where these other perennials are gonna go, and I've got to get that Woo La La out of the container, which hopefully I don't have to break the container to get it out, but we will see. So let's do a little design thinking here for a minute. Hopefully I'm not the only one that when you start one little project, it kind of grows on you. So that's what happened to me here, because I said, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and I am creating a new space, but then again, I'm connecting some existing spaces and filling in. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so of course, here we have the refrigerator, right? So the refrigerator's here. Then like I told you before, right behind the refrigerator, we've got the 3 Edgeworthia. So there is 1, 2, and then 3 back there. Because you see this bed from a lot of different angles, even though when you come straight on to the refrigerator, you don't see the Edgeworthia, from this angle you do. And then we have this bed that we had created last year with a bunch of evergreens to help eventually hide that mulch. So this is kind of like a little bit of a shade privacy screen that's going to happen here. My mom has come in here. She has got tons of Lenten roses that naturalize, so she has been very generous with her Lenten roses, so I have those dotted in there. So what I wanted to do is then just to create a little bit of a space, a garden between this area, and this is a little bit of an access road that we have coming in to the pines. And then that way, in front of these pine trees, so in front of this big pine tree, all right through here, all the way up to the refrigerator, I'm filling in front of those Florida sunshines. I mean, that's just what we as gardeners do, right? You start with your bones, and then as the years go on, you fill in empty spaces. I had the perennials from the refrigerator, but I said, you know what, let's just go ahead and add a few more things in there while we're here, right? We're here, let's do it. So right here in front of me, I have 3 of the proven winners. This is Heaven Sent. And Heaven Sent is a really fun, beautiful perennial. They sent it to us, Walters did, as a trial a couple years ago. This is one of those things that I never would have grabbed it or looked at it because it is hardy to a zone 7. So here we have Heaven Sent that does beautiful, gorgeous blue flowers. You can see that they're already just starting to put on their buds right here. The tag says full sun to part shade, full sun, part shade. Yeah, zone 3, you can do full sun. Zone 7B, lots and lots of shade. So I'm putting 3 of those in here as well. I think it'll be a lot of fun. So my clumps of dirt, just so you know, this is right in front of us is the lady in red fern. She'll get nice and tall. That way, if my Heaven Scents kind of peter out when it gets really hot, which is what they could, then that's all right because my lady fern will be nice and big and hide that. This clump of soil is the Astilbe. Again, nice and tall, beautiful foliage. I went ahead and added a holly fern, which is an evergreen fern in here. Then this is the Japanese painted fern. And then right here in front of me by my knees, this is wee hosta. So we've got those. I've got another holly fern in here because again, evergreen, give us a nice backdrop even in the winter. This is the Woo La La. If I had waited one more growing season, I would have had to break the pot to get it out. I'll show you in a little bit, but on the bottom, it's pretty root bound. You know that I'm not one to break up a bunch of roots, but I will loosen those up a little bit. And then again, while we're here, let's just incorporate some more gorgeous chartreuse color. This is the gold-hearted bleeding heart. Oh my gosh, y'all, I love this plant. This is, like I said, this is the gold heart, old-fashioned bleeding heart. Has that beautiful foliage on it with those classic bleeding heart blooms on it. It will be hardy in zones 3 to 9. Now again, bleeding hearts prefer it nice and cool. So it could very well be that come July, these just go dormant and quote disappear. It'll be fine because back here I have the third holly fern that is right here in front of those Edgeworthia. Again, bring me some evergreen color. The reason that I put those bleeding hearts in the back is because more than likely they will go dormant in late summertime when it gets really hot. They like it cold. They just say, you know what, it's too hot for us. We'll see y'all next spring. So they could easily go dormant. So what I have here with my finger here, there are 4 of Aunt Vonnie's ferns. Now they love it hot. Right now they're dormant. You think there's nothing there. But come summertime, when my bleeding hearts are gone, my ferns right here will be nice and huge and it will hide that raggedy dying foliage. Hence, why I put things where I did. The Woo La La, from this vantage point, it can get big, 36 to, it gets tall. So it should have a nice presence with those ferns right there. Again, you know what, everything's an experiment. If I need to move something in a couple of years or it doesn't work, we'll do that. But for now, I am going to rake back the pine needles, get my power planter. We're gonna aug all the holes. So I'm gonna go through and tell you what we're gonna do. Okay, we're gonna move the pine needles because I'm gonna put the pine needles back. Remove the pine needles, aug my holes nice and big, pray that there's no pine tree roots that I'm gonna run into. Everybody will get biotoned, everybody will get land and sea. We'll put the pine needles back and I'll meet you back here when I'm all done. right, all the holes are dug. So now I'm just gonna go ahead and biotone and put everybody in. Then we'll go back and we'll do the land and sea. You saw me that I went ahead and planted the Woo La La first. That way, because I had to break up her roots, biotone in the hole, break up the roots a little bit. I'm not gonna break up the roots on anybody else. Unless those holly ferns are extremely root bound, I don't break up the roots because a lot of times you do more damage than you do good. Clearly though, the Woo La La, its roots, you could see because it had been in a pot, were all the way circular. I just loosened them up. That way they're a little free and they can go and find nutrients and water elsewhere and spread out and get established. So, holes are dug, everybody's gonna get biotone, everybody's gonna get put into the ground, bring the native soil back, and then I will come back and top dress with land and sea. Yeah, pretty simple. So all the plants are in the ground. I did go ahead and sprinkle a little plant tone on top of the soil because it is that time of year, right? So we're coming out of winter, we're going into spring, they're going into their active growing period. They need a little bit of food, a little bit of slow release. Plant tone is gonna do wonders for them. Yes, I am putting land and sea on top of that. Remember, land and sea is that over time, very slow breakdown, enriches the soil. You can do land and sea and biotone in the hole and plant tone on top, and you're not overfeeding the plant. Why do I say that? Again, biotone is for healthy root growth only. We want strong, healthy root systems. Compost, the land and sea, is amending the soil. We are building up the environment of our soil with the land and sea. It's a very slow breakdown that, yes, over time will feed the plants. And then third, the plant tone is that slow release fertilizer that we apply late winter, early spring, that really gives them a more immediate food than the land and sea and will help give us nice top growth on top of the plant. Yeah. Foliage growth, right? Or flowers, whatever if the plant does flowers, then it gives us pretty flowers. So I'm just gonna, I've got 3 bags, well, 2.5 bags here. I'm gonna sprinkle it out and then come back and put my pine needles on top. Pretty simple. right, my friends, the project for today is complete and I am very excited about it. Now, it's not going to be a huge wow reveal right now because a lot of these plants are dormant, but in just a few short weeks, month, 2 tops, they are going to be out and sprouted and big and beautiful and very, very happy. I did not water this bed. I'm not going to water this bed for those reasons that I told you earlier. The soil is very, very moist. All you have to do is look at the bottom of my boots to know that this red clay has lots of moisture in it. And again, it is going to start raining tomorrow for like the next 3 days. Don't need to water. Why work harder if you don't have to? I do have a little trick that I want to share with you. I did this with my roses, but I don't think it, well, anyway, I have a little trick for you that I want to show you really quickly. So if you look at the bed, you're like, well, Jenny, you have pots up there and they're all turned upside down. Yes, I do. I used my nursery pots to cover some of that tender foliage. That way, when I was putting the fertilizer, land seed, and the pine needles, I would not crush that foliage. So then what you do, this is the bleeding heart, you come back, ta-da! She just has a little land seed on her, so there you go. Look at that. So we'll do the other two. Happy plant, little land seed, very happy. And then one more. I did not do the holly ferns because they're pretty stout, but this bleeding heart has very tender foliage on it, and I did not want to snap my my stems, my new growth. So let me show you what it looks like now. So see that sweet little pop of color right there? Aren't they happy? I love it. All right, so all I've got to do is just do a couple of more. I did do the Heaven Sent. Now everybody is uncovered, ready to go. All I have to do now is just sit back, wait, relax, watch them grow, and be happy. Long-term maintenance on this bed, what I will have to do is pretty much going to be a hands-free bed this year. Only thing I'm going to have to do is make sure that in periods of heat and drought that they do get water, because this is not on irrigation. So if it's not raining and it's hot, then we will have to hand water it, which here at the nursery really won't be that big of a deal because we have hoses all around and we've got other plants here. So while we're watering other plants, we can come and shoot them with a little bit of water. It's just a fun new bed. Again, a way to bulk up an area. One project kind of morphed into another project, but I'm super glad that it did because, man, this is going to be a fun little pocket of perennials here at the nursery underneath the pines. As always, thanks so much for gardening with Creekside. Hope y'all have had fun, learned something today, maybe found a plant that you want to add to your garden. Y'all have a great day. We'll see you in the next video. Bye, friends.